Hey, this is Bill Briggs, Deloitte's Chief Technology Officer. I'm here from Cannes Lions with Simon Whitcombe. He's the VP of the Global Business Group at Meta. I love what you've done with the place. This is a part of the...
It's we do what we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Your bio spoke to me, long-suffering sports fan.
Yeah.
Give me a beat on that.
On sports?
On the long-suffering piece.
Oh,
like,
well, I mean...
Where's the pain and heartache? Because I'm guessing it's not the Knicks now who finally...
No. So I moved to the United States in March of 1995. And I was a San Francisco 49ers fan way from when I lived in the UK. They put American football on the television. The Niners were my team. It was the golden age of Joe Montana.
Yeah.
I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area in March 1995. They were Super Bowl champions. They have not won. They have not won a Super Bowl since.
Okay.
If the Niners organization knew this, they might get me out of the country as quickly as humanly possible.
All right, Simon, I'm going to see you and raise you. This was not planned at all, right?
Yeah.
We do not have this conversation yet. I'm a long-suffering Bengals fan. So the two Super Bowls in the 80s,
I'm sorry.
the beginning of the glory days.
I'm sorry.
And in my office at home, no joke, I have a wall of shame of every championship I've been to. And my team has lost. I'm 0 for 5 across college sports, World Series, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I wish I had a memory like the 80s of the
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, we basically dashed we dashed your hope twice.
And here's the perversion. I was actually hoping for the Niners over the Rams 4 years ago to have another crack at it, which is just
third time lucky, right?
Yeah, maybe it would have turned out differently.
Yeah.
All right. So much going on this week.
Yeah.
Not just this week, but everything that Meta's doing on.
Yeah.
Maybe just set the stage on some of the biggest announcements and things that folks might not know or pay attention to.
I think business AI agents is probably the biggest announcement that we're making, bar any. Just a huge opportunity, simply based on what I would call our right to win. Because I think if you look at where we are headed, social media is going to remain the on-ramp to the internet. It's ultimately the place where people around the world come together, they congregate, and it's an amazing point of discovery, right? If we've been able to do anything with our business over the last 15 years, it's really about discovery. So we're going to be the on-ramp. We have some of the preeminent messaging services in the world. WhatsApp being the one. We feel like agentic experiences really open up a huge opportunity for businesses of all shapes and sizes. And again, this idea of conversational commerce is huge in other parts of the world, and we think that in the US, it's going to become a bigger and bigger thing over time.
Totally. And to break it down, you have the context and the understanding of the individual as a starting point. And then in most marketing, you're trying to discern what the question might be that a customer is trying to ask or that they need.
Yes.
So you can serve it in a way without precision. Well, fast forward to a time where there's no mystery. They're actually asking you the question, from the conversation,
This is the game changer, right? So any performance marketer will tell you. Well, let's start from the beginning.
Let's go back to funnel business. I like it.
Let's look at the meta version of this. So nobody gets onto Instagram with the express intention of buying anything, right? But millions of people do every day because we have this ability to make a prediction on what you might be interested in. And I have an Instagram shopping habit. As do millions of people around the world.
Yeah. Okay, all right, good.
Yeah. It's I bought a lot of things, many of which I probably didn't need, but I'm still very happy that I bought them. And that, our ability to do that has been a huge driver of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and large businesses. When I think of higher consideration purchases, that part of our business has been a boon for the $100 e-commerce purchase. The $100 or less e-commerce purchase.
I see those shoes. I want those shoes. I buy those shoes.
Although I mentioned that to a CMO earlier today, who was like, "No, $300 e-commerce purchase." Oh. But still, that's been.
We are in the south of France.
That's that's kind of been the sweet spot. But any performance marketer will tell you the key to driving a discovery-based purchase is a landing page. And if you're doing a landing page, it's really a prediction of what the questions might be in the customer's mind that is the barrier for making a purchase. Now, on a $100 e-commerce purchase, there probably aren't that many barriers. But if you're looking at B2B software, buying a car, buying furniture or home goods, or anything like that, there are questions, right? And what the agentic experience really brings is the landing page becomes a conversation. And that conversation really helps a customer move down the funnel at their own pace.
Yeah, and I think that last piece is so important. It's a stateful conversation. Right. It has memory, it has context.
Yes.
And those decisions are going to be taking days, weeks, months, maybe. Right. And so coming back with the questions that you have,
right,
when you're ready to have them, seems like such an unlock on.
Absolutely. And this open message thread is something that a customer can come back to again and again and again. And we feel like that's a game changer. And then also thinking about Gen Z, right? Just this notion of picking up the phone and calling a business has never been more unattractive.
We get on the yellow pages to find the,
Right. It even in the best examples, it's a painful process.
Yeah.
And certainly Gen Z, they want to message with a business in the same way that they message with a friend. They want the ability to be able to pick it up and drop it whenever they want to. And I think, again, that's one of the benefits that these experiences bring.
And you said before, people aren't going actively to be a product to be advertised to on. They're going for connection. They're going for inspiration.
Right.
And they're also listening to the voice of folks that they trust, be it influencers, be it friends.
Yeah.
More than a brand's official posture, the billboard, or even the critical experts anymore. I don't know where we are in that shift to balance of power, but it feels like creators are winning, or at least gaining a lot of ground on influence. And
it's shockingly so. If you'd said to me 5 years ago the creator content would be more successful than traditional content 70% of the time.
70% of the time. 70.
Yeah, 70.
70. Yeah.
I would not have believed you. But again, this is the huge shift that we've seen on our platform is these creative voices are authentic. They can produce a huge amount of content that's very compelling to audiences. And we're seeing a huge pivot in that direction.
Because there's a through line of passion.
Yeah.
And the best marketers and advertisers will try to create that in a way you can't fake that authentic.
Right.
I believe in, and I'm a part of a community, and therefore you should.
So I think like a travel example is one that is really easy to think about. Imagine you're on Instagram and you see your favorite creator talk about a trip that they just took to, I don't know, Greece.
I was just going to say Santorini because this actually happened to me with my teenage daughters just a few years ago.
Right.
Totally.
And it's like you're going to take a vacation. You hadn't considered Greece. This voice that you really respect and care about is suddenly telling you about this amazing trip. It feels
very seen right now,
right,
Simon.
Right. Yeah. That feels within reach. And then you can essentially open up an agentic conversation where you could maybe go 3, 4, 5 questions deep. Yeah. And then maybe something happens, like life happens, and you drop it, but then you come back to it a week later. And you get a little bit more information, and you reach out to your significant other, and you have more questions, right? And you can just see how this evolves, and becomes there's real utility there, and you're putting the customer in control.
Right. I want to, as Deloitte CTO, maybe behind the curtains a bit, because there's so much investment happening in the underlying models, in the platform. The Superintelligence Labs has been in place now for not too long, but already seeing pretty incredible results. Maybe just do a peek, and not everyone listening is going to be a deep technologist. So, but what are some of the pillars that are in place now that maybe weren't there a year or two ago to make this vision a reality?
I think in the space of 9 months, we have a frontier model that is competitive, and again, when I say competitive, the benchmarks were in the top 5. Which opens up the ability for us to do a lot of things that we weren't able to do previously. So, I think that we've made a huge investment in this area, and via that investment, in an incredibly short space of time, we are very much a player in this race.
But also it's tailored. So not only do you have broad model and benchmarking across but also it's tailored to the needs of product, platform, customer,
right?
With that extra layer of.
And again, this is what I was talking about earlier. It's kind of the key ingredients that we can put around it. We have a huge audience. We know a huge amount about where a given individual might want to start an agentic conversation, right? So the ability to predict where a consumer might be a good starting point for an agentic conversation is something that we really understand.
But let's do a beat on inspiration. Right. What's something that either you've heard, you've seen at Cannes, something that you're excited about in the next, call it 3 to 6 months, where everyone across industries could say, I need to pay attention to this, and this could be a massive unlock.
What would be a massive unlock? Let me give it.
I like the thoughtful beat.
Well, no, I mean, there are a lot of things that we are working on right now. I mean, I do think that it's the ability to go from a point of discovery through a creator's eyes to an agentic conversation, to driving a conversion. I think the funnel is collapsing. The traditional funnel, as we think about it, is collapsing in real time because of the technology that's available to us now. And I think that the distance from a point of a marketer's point of inspiration to the point of being able to deliver on that has never been shorter. So yes.
Which is a universal.
Right.
Every industry has customers and citizens, and how do we meet them? How do we?
Yeah. And I think the mistake that we're still seeing from many businesses is really kind of breaking down, discovery, awareness, consideration, conversion into separate steps and even separate teams.
Yep.
And then really thinking about harnessing the technology that exists today through a lens of how do I improve ROAS? How do I improve lifetime value? These tools are just mind-blowing. Even in my own day-to-day work, the thing that's really shocking me right now are things that I used to need a data scientist to go and do.
You would take...
or a sales operations person to go and do.
Large chunks of time.
Right.
Amazing resources to do.
Yeah, I can go and do that instantaneously.
Yeah.
And then the insights that we have access into, I think at Meta, insights hasn't been a strength for us. And I think moving forward, it's going to be a huge strength for us because the ability to query huge amounts of data and extract insights that are going to really change how marketers think is really going to open up the aperture.
I love this as a closing. This is a sentiment of every industry and every executive, and every function of the same folks that haven't thought of themselves as technologists. Suddenly there's tools available,
right?
But you have to have the curiosity to roll up the sleeves. AI is not a spectator sport.
No.
And the best organizations are the ones leaning in and saying we need to be intentional about lowering that barrier, but also not letting the incrementalism trap win the day.
Yeah.
It's just because we've always done it this way. It's not how it has to be tomorrow. And then how do we be bold, first principles back, and how do we think about reimagining our marketing function, our supply chain, our fill in the blank then.
But I think you nailed it as well. That curiosity needs to be there. And again, I think that historically there's been this idea that the new technologies, you always look to younger generations. We're not seeing that within our own team.
To the IT. Obviously Meta is on the extreme but the age-old, well, that's the CIO, CTO. They're going to take care of it. And when something's interesting, they'll bring it to us, and we'll gladiatorial. There's a very different, you need to be in it.
Yeah.
And we in your past history, I admitted I'm a gamer. I learned to program BASIC on a Commodore 64 back in the day. That moment of discovery that I create problems with solutions and games and things, that's something that's informed my entire... I see that with CEOs and boards having the same moment.
Right.
And it's... I love every bit of it.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you.
Hey, Simon, this was amazing. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for sharing the vista.
You are welcome.